listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There is absolutely no human being I'd rather be talking to right now than Luke Weaver. Again, it's always good talking with you. We've talked a few times. Fortunately, I got a chance to talk to you a couple times in the World Series. I think the last time was you stood in front of me. It was after you guys won, and you talked about watching the doc, like the clubhouse doc, right, and saying that's the blueprint. That's the blueprint. But I just love the fact that you're how your mind works. It's good. We should all base things off docs, like the hope of it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everybody's different. You just want to make sure that you have a good imagination, something that can allow you to dream in some ways and understand other things, and just more than anything, just stay neutral. Just understanding that information's great, and at the end of the day, you just want to use that to push forward. And
it's history. I listen to podcasts. I was driving in today, listening to podcasts, and I'm listening to Conan O'Brien. Yeah. I'm thinking, okay, what can I take out of this that I learned? What can I take out of this that will help my life? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking you're talking about.
100%. Right? I think you have to have an open perspective, and I think at the end of the day, even at this level I'm playing at, there's always room to grow. There's always ways to get better. It's even just tweaking a pitch to make it move a tad bit better, or it's a more efficient way to mechanically to throw a ball harder, or to throw it to a spot easier. So there should just be no ego to it. The ego, I think, is what drowns out the opportunity to learn. And when you're at a point where you feel like you know it all, then I don't think that's the wrong.
I'm like twice your age. I think I can't feel that way. That's how I felt it. I mean, I remember you talking about looking at Yamamoto, the YouTube clip. I mean, that's one small example. Yeah. But I got a feeling that's sort of what you're doing. Whether it's that, whether it's the Netflix doc, whether I don't know. Do you listen to other podcasts? Do you listen?
Yeah, just kind of being open to things. Observing is my big thing.
Is it? Yeah.
It's observing. So I take in a lot of information. I know sometimes my wife's wondering, what I'm thinking when I don't respond, and I'm kind of in my own little world. But I'm just always taking in. For an example, when I was starting, I'd sit in the dugout and I would just have certain innings where I would just watch certain positions. I would take an inning where I would just watch the first base umpire. I would take an inning where I would watch the ball bat boys that would just go and just watch how there's this things, right? So when it adds up, I'm just trying to gain perspective of how everybody's doing their job, how they position themselves, where they got to go on a certain batted ball, where they have to do when a ball goes to the backstop or an umpire runs out of baseball. It's
so weird. You and I think the same. I was watching because sometimes I'll watch the ball boy.
Yeah.
And the circular sort of rhythm that
absolutely
he has, right?
and they have to go all the way to the bullpen to pick up the belongings of the reliever. They have to run across to give water. At what intent are they running at? Are they very serious about their job? Are they just very confident and relaxed? Or are they just showing up that day just to punch in the clock? I don't know. There's different intensities, and I think it's fascinating to watch how people go about their business. And I think the observation part of it is just a fascinating way to just gain perspective.
So we mentioned the Yamamoto thing leading to last year. So this offseason, you obviously have a lot of success and you're different lot in life, I guess. What was the thing was there anything that you found that you latched onto that this was interesting? Along the lines of, like we said, I hate to keep coming back to Yamamoto, but that's...
No, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, he's the only other guy that simply is doing this style of throwing, and he's been a really great template, and he's obviously throwing really well.
Yeah, he's good.
So to your point, I think it was just about, I'm very aware. I think we're making it a point right now to be very observant on a daily basis, especially every time I throw. There's a certain process in which I'm breaking down how I threw, what it looked like. Even if it went well, I want to make sure my checkpoints are all in similar place mechanically. How I'm breaking down hitters. So really the offseason just becomes a really full breakdown assessment of all the checkpoints along the year of okay, good outings, bad outings. What were some commonalities? What were things that, good or bad, just kind of stood out? And I think ultimately it just came, let's just try to get an inch better. Let's just try to, we don't have to rewrite anything. We already did that.
Yeah,
we did all the hard work.
You wrote it.
And so now it's about consistency.
Yeah.
And the consistency just comes from staying confident in routine, staying, not too egotistical, trying to make sure we're humbling ourselves in our perspective, and then just ultimately be consistent. Just show out there and just be like, if I can do these things, I should be able to be great. And this game of baseball shows up in different ways. Sometimes you pitch well and it doesn't go well, sometimes the opposite. So this game has a great way to really kind of show the loopholes, the certain areas you can be exposed to, but also reward you in really good routines and things.
It's so good. Like talking to you, right? Like I'll come away from this and I'll be like, okay, this was something that it's sticky to me, right? That Charlie Morton, we had him on last week, and he had one line which I went and ran to my kids, and I said, it was a simple thing. He said, if they give you the opportunity to figure it out, then figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like,
well said.
That's it, right? And so in the times where like we're down or whatever, you still have the opportunity to figure it out. But that's my point, is that these sort of things are powerful things, you know?
They are, because the one thing I'll add to that is nobody is going to come save you.
Yeah.
Like, you have people who care, right? And sure, somebody might save you, but you can't depend on it. You got to be able to be self-efficient. And being self-efficient comes from being okay with failure, being okay to learn from it and to try to understand, okay, in this situation, this happened, how do I do a better job in this situation because it might happen again? So it's really just like being consistent in understanding, like, how do I solve these problems? And if I can't solve them, am I putting in the effort to do so? Because to his point, like, if you have time to figure it out, then that means you're still doing it. Because there's going to come a point where you're not doing it anymore, and you're going to look back and question yourself, did I do enough? Did I just put enough intensity? Did I ask the right questions? Did I ask for enough help? And ultimately it just comes down to like how bad you want it. And that's really what it is.
When off of, like you said, your lot in life is different now than it was. Coming off a World Series, how did that change you? How did that change your life? I know this is like a total cliche question, but it does. I mean, like that's the level that you want to get to. You experience that level, and then now you're experiencing the confidence that you've extracted from getting to that level, or the attention. Like how did that experience change you?
So there's a couple things I'll say. We didn't win, right? So it didn't change it in the ultimate way, because the winners are forever, immortal into the baseball game, whatever you want to call it. They're shrined into it. They have a plaque, they have rings, bigger rings. They have all the cool stuff, right? They're going to have a parade 10, 20 years from now. It's cool, whatever. I think the hard part is being the loser of it really pushes you to the brink, right? It motivates you more. It allows you to not want to feel that feeling again. But, the biggest takeaway I learned is that I came away with a lot of peace. And my peace came from my journey. And I made sure along the way that I appreciated my process and my journey to the fullest extent. And being okay with and all of what's happening, right? Taking moments and being like, you worked hard to get here, appreciate it. Don't be so blinded by trying to just win. Just take a step back. And by doing that, losing hurt, but it didn't hurt as bad because I was proud of what we did. I was proud of myself. I was proud of a lot of things. And in doing that, it gave me a sense of peace that allowed the confidence just to be neutral. It wasn't like now I'm overly motivated. It just allowed me to, like you said, gain the confidence to know I can do it.
Yeah.
And that we could have easily won, but we didn't win. Yeah. They won. And so it's not a matter of what if, it's just a matter of when. And so that's where the confidence comes from.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that you know that you can get there, number one. You know that you can stand on that mound and succeed on that level in that intention.
Yeah.
Because, listen, like this is where analytics sort of gets warped a little bit. I think that people, when we look at analytics to get through a baseball season, ultimately when we get to the World Series, It's can that guy function on that stage?
Yeah.
You know,
You learn a lot
and
about
you felt it probably like
Big time.
you don't know until you're there, right?
Big time. And I think the beauty of it was even from the start of the year, I had to accept that I wasn't going to be starting. I had to accept the long relief role. I had to then find a way to put my pride aside and just go do what I feel like I can go do and be successful. So I just focus on zeros. I focus on the next guy. And it builds up to every role. The next thing I know, I'm standing on the mound of the World Series and I'm in the 9th inning, right? And it's just such a whirlwind. But gaining the appreciation through it all was everything. And I looked at every round of the playoffs as a bonus, right? I'd never been to the playoffs. I've played this game long enough to be like, man, when's my time gonna come? And now I'm, in year like 10, over 8 years now in service, and I'm going, at that time, I'm like, I just want to feel it.
Yeah.
Show me what it's like.
Yeah.
The TV's cool, but I'm not there.
Yeah.
So then it became, okay, you get to be a part of making it to the playoffs. Now you get to be a part of being in the playoffs and winning, and then winning the next round, and then now being in the World Series. And it's like, I've already won, but I didn't get to. I didn't get the cherry on top.
So let me ask you this.
Hurts.
So you had the feeling, right? You had all those feelings that you talked about. And then you have the feeling of the World Series. Did the feeling of the World Series of being in that game, those games, feel like you thought it would be? And conversely, did not winning it feel like you thought it would? Because I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know at the end of the day, like when you're going through it, if you even think about what it feels like to lose.
It's a really good question, because every step along the way, I did feel it, right? I think it didn't become overwhelming because I trusted my process, I trusted my routines, and I took time to, like I said, appreciate every step of the way, every round.
Which is good for you, by the way.
Which was great for me, and it helped me a ton. And also just having the perspective of like, I'm just a dude going out there and trying to put up a zero, or just try to get 3 guys out or 4 guys out, or how many outs I got to get. And when you think simplistically like that, and you allow things to enter your mind in just a very neutral way, stand off the back, take it in, be on the foul line, get introduced, and soak it in. Don't try to block it out. When you try to block it, you waste energy trying to deflect.
No,
and
don't be the tough guy. Like
exactly. And I think there's a way to do that, and it might work for somebody. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So when you ask me at the very end of like, we lose, it's like, yeah, I'm devastated. I'm gutted. Like I did all this work to not get to the final part of it. But who am I to sit there and say that this was for nothing?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
What's fair to say is that we put in all the work to achieve all these things, just not the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And the ultimate goal is what hurts, but it also, there should be a huge appreciation for the process of getting there. And that's forever going to be, by a campfire and telling stories of those, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna forget about it. I got a ring to prove it. It's not the ring I wanted, but it's still a memento.
You know how many guys don't have that ring? You know how many guys don't have that experience? I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I went a while without it, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I appreciate it maybe even more.
And this isn't about me telling stories, but it was another example I want to give is I was talking to Brian Anderson, the broadcaster at Fox, and he tells a story of when Jim Leland came up to him and said, "What's your scoreboard? Like, what's your scoreboard?" As a broadcaster, he's like, "I don't know, like having a good home run call, whatever." But it made me think when we were telling that story, like we were searching for a scoreboard, is that the scoreboard, yeah, you have the ultimate scoreboard, but the scoreboards, you had a lot of scoreboard wins. And I'm not talking about like wins and losses.
Sure.
Like the scoreboard's about you, like your success, about your perseverance, are you coming back, right? Today, your scoreboard was waking up, feeling better than you did yesterday, and moving forward.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly it, man. And it's waking up to family, kids, whatever, your dog, your friends, whatever it is, man. It's all perspective. It's about looking at the trees and the grass and the sun, and even if it's a rainy day, it's like that's some fresh water falling from the sky. Whatever it is.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But it's just, it's easier said than done, because there's a lot you got to go through to gain, and it's in life, maturing through life and finding the different failures. Because I feel like I failed enough to sit there and go, it's not all worth getting upset about. There's moments I'm going to be upset. I don't want to blow a game or do this, but I got to get over that because I have people that depend on me to do it the next day. Or I got a family that's waiting to hug me and to love on me, hopefully. And it's just drowned away. So at the end of the day, it's just all about how you want to look at it. And I just feel like, I hope people find just a very neutral approach. Like, be appreciative of the good moments and learn from the bad ones, and then just kind of find the balance.
I hope so. In about a month, there'll be a draft, and there'll be kids who are in your spot, first round picks, right?
Yeah.
I hope everybody listens to what you're talking about. I hope but sincerely, because like when you were the first round pick, you're like everybody else probably. Like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I think we might have talked about this the first time we talked.
Yeah. There's a lot going through your head.
Yeah.
You know, you're a good player at the time. People think so. You obviously get drafted well. Even if you don't get drafted high, you're still drafted. Just don't think you got it all figured out.
No.
There's so many layers to it, and I just always remembering. Anytime I talked to a veteran, anytime I had a moment on the field, there was always a level that I wasn't prepared for, just because I never established and understood it. So this game continues to build these layers, and it takes time to then finally establish, okay, I've been through just about everything, so I'm equipped to handle everything. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to get through it successfully.
Well, that's why I'm not to play amateur psychologist. When you're standing on the mound, that's why you are one of those guys who's able to function.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because the best story I could tell from the World Series that stands out to me is that I came in Game 5, bases loaded with no outs in the 8th inning, I believe, and we're up 1. I mean, a moment you dream of as a kid. You're usually the one wanting to hit, I think. But as a pitcher, I remember jogging out with high intensity, right? But I warmed up, I got going, and before I threw the pitch, there was a little bit of a gap of time, and I remember staring down at the ground and just telling myself, Luke, there's an entire stadium here at home that wants you to become a superhero and to try to get out of this situation and save this game. And I really hope I can do that. But I'm okay with the fact that I'm out here, I'm thankful to be here, and whatever happens, I'm okay with the result because I'm going to give it everything I got.
Yeah.
And that simple message that I said out loud to myself, I just then looked into the crowd and I just said, I'm going to give you everything I got. And I just was flooded with peace, and it calmed me and it allowed me to go into that inning. The inning, 2 sac flies, right? I get 3 outs. We go down by 1, really tough situation. But I remember walking away just being like, you know what? That's the most in control, slowed down version of myself I've ever had in my entire life.
This is not something
the biggest moment in my entire career.
You didn't blueprint this. This just came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere, but the blueprint came from establishing the daily routine and the pitch routine of what I do every single time. And it gave me the opportunity to have a more elevated moment in my slowing down of the game. And I'll never forget that moment. And it wasn't even a moment that yielded the ultimate success. It yielded a moment of everything I did in my entire career came to a moment that I was completely in control in the hardest, toughest moment of my entire career. And it was just a sense of peace, and it was cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, that means a lot. The last thing, total pivot, come back to the doc. What doc? Have you listened to watch any docs? Have you read any books? Have you listened to any podcasts?
Yeah.
Or are you just like, let's go baseball?
No, when you get in the ebbs and flows of the season, it becomes tougher. I mean, there are moments. I always like referring back to Joel Turner on Joe Rogan. They did a podcast, and they talk about shot IQ, which is just, mental routine in between, like shooting a gun or mainly shooting a bow, and I try to make that
that's interesting.
into pitching, and I think he's done some stuff in baseball on a lighter scale. I don't know, I've never met him, but I've done a lot of work making that my own thing, and over the last year and a half, it's really helped me in between pitches and establish myself for the moments like in the World Series.
It comes back. It comes full circle.
So I would recommend listening to that podcast and just understanding that. and just kind of like morphing it into baseball and trying to gain what that would look like.
See,
for
that's
you
much better than me watching Liver King. So it's
well, you might get some out of it.
No, I get zero out of it. I can tell you.
Sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.